Hey, what do you say, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Full Press Hockey Weekly Show here on a Wednesday night, a little earlier than normal. Lots to discuss. I'm your host, Jim Berenger, back alongside Chris Wassel. And Chris, looking at my watch, and I'm looking at the calendar, and it feels like the trade deadline happened already, but it's still 2 days away.
We're going? Yeah, look, I mean, all right, so in technically time-wise, they say 8 hours, but technically in about a 5 to 5.5 hour time period yesterday, we had 10 trades. And obviously some big ones at that, big one, New York, yeah. But the volume of what was coming in and the rumors that were going in and out, it felt like Friday about 2 p.m., Jim. It really did for a while there.
It kind of started on the weekend too, where you hear all the rumors coming out about who was going to get moved and the little moves that happened. And, obviously we have to start in the metro area, and we'll save Timo Meier because we've talked enough about Timo Meier. Go listen to our podcast that we put out. But we'll recap it here anyway. It was just a matter of time before this deal was going to get done for Timo Meier and the Devils, but also for Patrick Kane going to Broadway. It felt like all the Rangers had to do was go through cap gymnastics. And you talked about it, and when we saw the return, and we're going to probably see the return for Chikrin and maybe other players, the law of diminishing returns. When a player wants to go to one team and one team only, the return's not going to be that much. Patrick Kane, I'm going to steal this from Elliot Friedman, Giroux too, because that's what it was. Patty Kane, showtime is in Broadway.
It is. And let's be honest about this. We fully expected it. One of the things that worked in with this that was interesting. So right after Vladimir Tarasenko trade, the assumption was that the Rangers could not pull this off. As you've seen now over the past, 6, 7, 8 days, with the facilitation of all these contracts and money being tossed around and dead cap space and cap space being renewed, some of it being reanimated from the dead. I mean, look, it seems like a joking matter, but it really isn't, because teams are finding ways to make moves that it's not that we didn't expect it. We just didn't think this many teams would be doing it. It's like the old song, everybody else is doing it, so why can't we? And now where this gets wild, do not be surprised if you see teams, especially tomorrow and Friday, that you thought for sure were done. Oh, wait. We're not done yet. Hold on. Almost like Monty Python. We're feeling better. We can make a move.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, for me, for covering this, it feels like the busiest and most wild trade deadline week we've had ever, with all the big names. And, we talk about the NHL talks about, and people talk about trying to get what the NBA has or the NFL has. We're getting a lot of big names, and it feels like everybody's pretty much on the market outside of like those untouchables. But the fact of the matter is that Patrick Kane goes to New York. And like you said, we didn't think this was going to happen, because once they went for Tarasenko, it's like, okay, well, he's not going. Once he made those comments about wanting to be in New York and wanting to play there, he's going to be rejuvenated. And now the Rangers have a very, very potent top six.
Yep.
As Braden says, he hopes they win the East. They're going to, if they get that far, probably match up against Boston, but that's way down the road.
Yeah, you have to wait for the matchups there.
Right,
the
exactly.
matchups are going to be very big with how far the Rangers go. And look, you don't want to say this now. Whoever they play in the first round, especially if it isn't New Jersey, if it's Carolina, it's going 7. I mean, you just look, screw the pencil. You can go with the magic marker, the permanent marker, and just write it right in.
Right, 7. And look, again, Kane to the Rangers was a big one. We all knew that one was coming. They were just finalizing details. Carolina's made some moves in the Metro, getting Puljujarvi, and now today they get Shane Gostisbehere.
It's a sneaky one.
That's a sneaky one because it's funny. They were looking for I saw the quote from Don Waddell about wanting a puck-moving defenseman and all that. I'm like, you had that. You actually have a better version of Shane Gostisbehere when you had Tony DeAngelo, but you just didn't want to pay him. Puljujarvi's a sneaky one because I think with the Finnish team there, like the players that he probably played with at the World Championships and know through training, he's probably going to get a boost and he's probably going to play well now, and he's out of the shadow of McDavid and Draisaitl. And this Metro division, man, it's just getting crazier and crazier because see Carolina make moves. The Islanders started this thing. Lou picks up a Peter Engvall the other day. That's a good move by them. And then obviously New Jersey gets their man in Timo Meier.
Yeah, everybody got something except for, well, I mean, it's not over yet. But
no, it's not over yet.
But Pittsburgh didn't get really anybody. They were close, but no cigar. At least so far. That's the key thing in this. Nobody really knows. They're rumored to be in on a certain defenseman from Arizona. Kind of.
They're rumored to be in on a couple of guys from Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, the one at least we think we can kind of rule out, at least for now, at least as far as the Pittsburgh end of things, is JT Miller. That does seem like it's fallen through for now. So we might be revisiting that 2:00 Friday afternoon, but at least as of this moment, that's been kiboshed. It's funny going through the old TSN trade tracker of trades that have happened over the past four weeks, because obviously technically months, because Bo Horvat was still in January. I think almost everybody forgets that it's been a month now since Bo Horvat was traded
at the All-Star break or the week before the All-Star break.
Yeah, people have to understand this. Okay, so here's the quick timeline of events. January 30th. Literally, we're all sitting there in the evening thinking, "Oh, it's All-Star break weekend. Nothing's happening." Boom, Bo Horvat gets traded. Okay, great. Nothing happens for like about a week. Don't tell me about the Jacob Magna trade. That doesn't count.
That don't count. Not anymore. It feels like that was like 3 months ago.
It feels like that was 3 months ago. So then you have February 9th when the Tarasenko sort of not bomb hits, but we'll call it a ba. It's not a ba. It's just a ba. Nonetheless, that did start to spark things. Now, it didn't get the ball moving completely, but the key is in all this that I said it then. Watch when you start seeing these bookies come out with odds of where players are going to go. It's going to be an indication in some cases of where they actually do. For example, I'll give points and props to where this is due. BetMGM had it right. Sports Interaction was dead on, especially with Timo Meier. I think they were on him as a favorite before anyone else to New Jersey. I think almost every other publication had them close, to be fair. I think the longest odds I saw was 325 on Bet365. Yeah, go figure. It was almost 365 on 3. Yeah, I know. But Kane was the interesting one because as hard as it is to believe, Kane was as high as 800 or 8-1 odds going to New York. There was an option, Jim, that said none, which was weird. And you don't see that typically with these trade deadline things. We saw it last year with JT Miller, and guess what happened? He stayed. So some people obviously jumped on that as, hey, we've seen it before. Maybe he'll somehow stay. No. His odds, once the couple leaks came out, and these weren't even mainstream leaks. They're just small little like blurbs that you would find it only if you're like digging through like conspiracy theorists notes. But turned out to be right. Sometimes that does happen. You're talking it went from plus 750, plus 800 to minus 150 in 3 days. So
as a sure bet of Kane going to New York, it was a sure bet that Meyer was going to New Jersey.
Right. And the thing is, sometimes it's a case of, you know, where worlds collide, and you can sit there and kind of read through the tea leaves and go, hey, this player is going to this location. We don't know for what, and we don't know for who. Look, there were parts of the, you know, we said it previously, there were parts of the Meyer deal that we did not have right at all. And there was no way, well, shoot, that was 13 pieces, essentially.
Right, but you know, to be fair enough, you know, from most of what we had on the Meyer deal,
the nuts and bolts are right.
The nuts and bolts were 80% of it was right. I mean, let's be honest. Most of us figured Zetterlund, Johansson, a first, a conditional, Mohamedulin, and somebody else was going in there. Like we all figured that was the nuts and bolts of everything. That was it. The minor details, because San Jose had to get cap compliant, rosters, all this stuff.
Right.
Fine.
But Kane deal, same thing. Kane deal, same thing. You figured there was a conditional first or a reach up to a first in some way. And then, you know, another condition where they get, if it doesn't happen, it turns into a like pumpkin. Right. But again, even if it somehow turns into a first for Chicago, it's a late first.
Yeah, it's not going to be a high first.
We all know that maybe 25 to 30% of these guys somewhat pan out in the NHL if you're lucky.
Well, okay, that's a beautiful segue, because I was going to bring up Tanner Jeannot and what the Tampa Bay Lightning sent to Nashville for Tanner Jeannot. But on one side, while we look at it and say, holy cow, that's a lot, when Julien Brisebois says what he says in regards to those draft picks and where those guys are going to be drafted and how they're going to help their team, these guys aren't going to see the light of day on that lineup for 6 years. It's not going to help them win now and keep their window open. So I understand it. While it's still a lot, and I still think it's a lot, I get where he's coming from. And this is why you see the Rangers start giving up draft picks for guys like Patrick Kane, and why New Jersey's giving up picks, because these guys aren't going to help you win now. They may not see the lineup for 5 years. That means you don't need them. You can trade to help you win now. And it's a shame that one of Toronto, Tampa, New Jersey, or the Rangers are going home in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, when you start looking at teams that are picked to win this and that and everything, 6 of the top 8 teams are from the East. Actually, 6 of the top 7
are from the Eastern Conference.
From the Eastern Conference.
And we know the Bruins are the favorite to win it.
And the Bruins are the favorite. And then after that, look, it's Colorado still, depending on, which,
where you're looking.
Where you're looking and where you're located. Because, believe me, points bet in Colorado, it's closer than you think. But when you start looking at the numbers and you start going, well, this team's going to end up with this many points, you can't right now because you still got 20 games left in the season just about.
Right.
Some things are kind of locked in. I mean, look, we all know Tampa and Toronto are going to play each other.
We're 99% sure that's going to happen. Yeah. I would say you're about 85 to 90% sure the Devils are going to play the Rangers. Outside of if Carolina slips, New Jersey goes to first, Rangers, stuff like that. There's still a 10% window, 10% to 15% window where something could change in the Metro.
This isn't like the Western Conference, ladies and gentlemen, where you just sit there and go like this.
Yo, stir it up.
Yo, wait.
Stir it up.
Hold on.
Yo, where the cards at? Yo, just flip out the cards, figure it out. But
it's crazy.
It is crazy. So we had the Kane deal, then we had obviously Edmonton start up this whole thing. Matthias Ekholm, Nashville just continues to sell guys. They moved Nito Niederreiter on the weekend. They moved Tanner Jeannot. Now they move Matthias Ekholm to Edmonton. Tyson Barrie comes back in the deal, which is weird because he was really helping that power play in Edmonton. But they get a steady defenseman. I think that's a great pickup. I think it's a sneaky good pickup for Edmonton, and I think it really helps their defense.
I almost think if you're at Edmonton, you needed to make that Barrie move last year, even arguably the year before, to give, say, like an Evan Bouchard chance to finally take the reins on that power play without looking over his shoulder every 2 seconds. Because Darnell Nurse is not the answer. I mean, look, family lineage jokes aside.
Right. He's not the answer.
He's not the answer. Is he Matt Dumba bad? No.
No.
But for what he is and his upside is not what Bouchard's is. Bouchard's has a laser-like slap shot. I mean, people have compared this to, how do I put this? The clapper that Dougie Hamilton has, where it's not overly hard on the surface, but somehow it finds the net and it's deadly accurate.
It really is deadly accurate, that Hamilton shot. But having Ekholm, I think, solidifies that defense a little bit more, gives him a little bit more stability. Yep. Like you said, allows Evan Bouchard now power play time that he probably wouldn't have. But you have a guy in there that's been to a Stanley Cup final, who knows what it takes to win in the playoffs, can guide this team. Now, again, it's going to come down to goaltending for Edmonton, like it always does. Jack Campbell, see if he can get it done. But if you're picking a team to come out of the West outside of Colorado, you got to look at Edmonton and with the weapons that they have. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, RNH, like all those guys are producing. McDavid, 50 goals. What else can you say about this guy and what he does? I mean, just give him the Hart Trophy right now because he's the best player in the world and he's the best player in the league.
It's ridiculous only in the sense. Now, beginning of the season, few people, we started projecting out how many goals we thought Connor McDavid might have. And I said, look, he's going to go on a tear. He is eyeing 50 goals, and I think he's going to go way past that, and he's easily going to probably go past 60. Little did I know, I mean, as of right now, he's on pace for 68 goals.
Hey, that's great. Do we have back-to-back years with 60 goal scorers?
That's pretty nice.
That's pretty good.
I mean, look, we know how balanced scoring is now, but now scoring is more sustained. We haven't had that drop off like we even did for a little bit last year. It stayed pretty steady for the most part throughout the season. If anything, it rises a little here and there from its already high levels, and that's great for hockey. Look, let's face it, we're in a time where scoring is king, and if you can't score 3 goals, you ain't winning. It's that simple. I mean, it's not. This is not the days of scratching through, and
So, looks like we have some breaking news on this program.
Oh!
And if this looks right,
it does.
The Ottawa Senators have acquired defenseman Jacob Chychrun from the Arizona Coyotes for a conditional first-round pick, 2023, a conditional second-round pick previously acquired by the Capitals, and a second-round pick in 26. I'm sorry.
Okay. That would have been... I was waiting
That would have been a little long.
Yeah, but it would have been something that I was kind of jokingly starting to expect at some point. It's like, when are we going to get into the 2030 draft class? Because we've seen a few 25s and 26s already.
I'm going to be honest.
It's kind of
not a lot.
It's not a lot. I mean, I was expecting a hair more, to be honest. I was expecting more front-end loaded, maybe even a NHL-ready player, perhaps.
So here's the conditions according to Sens communication, and if we can get Murray on, that would be great.
Bribe him somehow.
Bribe him, but the conditions are as follows: 2023 first round pick is top 5 protected. If met, pick becomes a 2024 first round unprotected. Additionally, if the Sens reach the 2023 Eastern Conference Final, the second round pick becomes a first round top 10 protected. If condition is met, then it becomes all right. Yeah, that's a lot of those conditions probably are not happening. But the fact of the matter is, Jacob Chychrun is going to the Ottawa Senators, and let's be honest, the dominoes kind of were falling to other teams in this Chychrun sweepstakes because once Shane Gostisbehere went to Carolina, it took them out of it. It's like the Timo Meier dominoes. While you were sleeping, FYI, Jonathan Quick gets traded from LA to Columbus for Vladislav Gavrikov and Jonas Korpisalo. Now, we'll touch on that in a minute because this is just the dominoes. So LA's out of the Chychrun mix, but which, by the way, was 2 weeks ago when they probably should have landed him. Edmonton was out when Matthias Ekholm gets traded for. Boston's out of it when they pick up Dmitry Orlov and Garnet Hathaway. Oh, and by the way, the Leafs' name was just in there, but they weren't getting him because they picked up Luke Schenn, Jake McCabe, and Gustafsson. I mean,
somebody just name dropped that one.
It's finally over. Jacob Chychrun is finally traded.
I don't think look, it was getting to Cabernet Chronicles level where you literally could sit there and go, well, how is he not going to get traded? Because, I mean, before Thomas Cabernet for like about 3.5 trade deadlines just would not get traded and then finally ended up in Boston of all places. And there was about 7 or 8 different near trades of him in that time frame. Now, while Chychrun didn't get to that level, he was starting to get close, Jim. I mean, you're probably up to like about 4 or 5 near trades.
Right.
Especially with the most recent one that nearly happened to LA over a hang up on a certain player. And I think they were talking about a certain prospect. And then they tried to back off and go another direction. And LA wasn't budging on that. And I think that's what honestly, when the trade fell through and they just said, you know what? We're out. Meanwhile, we're thinking, hey, they're still front runners. In reality, they were already out.
Yeah, they were already out. I mean, unbelievable. Jacob Chychrun. And we get news, too, while we're doing this. I mean, we figured it was going to happen.
Yep.
But, so Jacob Chychrun goes to Ottawa. And the way the Ottawa Senators have been playing lately, they're still in this thing, whether people want to believe it or not. The Ottawa Senators are only 5 points out of the final wild card spot. And to add a player like Chychrun, the way they've been playing, you know, Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Claude Giroux's a point per game player now. It is remarkable what the Sens are doing. And you know what? Maybe they get in, maybe they don't, but they have a nice defenseman for the next couple of years now that can anchor that blue line with Thomas Chabot. And they have a nice young team. And if they can get their goaltending situated, look out for the Sens, man, because they're always been pesky.
Yeah.
I've always said it. That's the nickname that I've given them. Oh, by the way, I will be in New York tomorrow night for the debut of Patrick Kane. I doubt Chychrun's going to play for Ottawa. I would be shocked if he's there to play.
That's going to be some game.
But it's going to be some. I was going just to see Stützle and Tkachuk. Now I have more reason to go.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Even if Ottawa does not make the playoffs, think of how. I mean, the East is, for the lack of a better term, seeds 1 through 6 is nuts for when the playoffs start. Then the bubble is probably arguably just as crazy as the West. where you have all these teams trying to like somehow avoid playing Boston. Wow. I mean, and you have an Ottawa team that arguably, if they had just found a way to get rid of Cam Talbot and had kept Gustafson in the first place, you imagine where they would be right now?
Like you said they should have.
I said at the beginning of the season, they never should have had Talbot on this roster. Holding him back. And it's not Cam Talbot's fault per se. It's just one of those things that if you're that committed to a youth movement, ride your young goaltenders.
Right.
If you don't make the playoffs, okay, it's not a big deal. You weren't expecting to in a period of ownership transition. But you were setting yourself up for 2024, 2025, etc. Now it's like, oh, wait. Now we got something with Sodergaard, who, by the way, NHL Rookie of the Month for February. Savior of 2 of my fantasy teams. Because, yeah, it's that bad when, your goaltenders all get injured or you have Jordan Binnington and have to dump him. But the bottom line is you now have a team. You have Ottawa, Buffalo, Detroit. You have these teams all battling for the bubble. And I'd argue now that Detroit is kind of in a lateral position as opposed to being buyer or seller. You saw that with the Ronick trade today to Vancouver.
Which I think is setting something up big for them because they signed Dylan Larkin today
Yep.
to that 8-year, $8.7 contract extension, which is good. You get the captain locked up. He's the face of your franchise. But Tyler Bertuzzi's name is again out there after these back-to-back losses to Ottawa. And Ottawa's charging. I don't know if they'll get in, but they are charging, and they have a really, really good young team. Again, led by Kachuk, led by Stützle, led by Shabbat on the back end in their goaltending. But it's going to be interesting to see what Detroit does because I feel like getting that conditional first from the Islanders gives them ammunition to do something bigger.
Yeah, this is the old setup. And we've seen these like kind of trades happen more on trade the night before or trade deadline morning, say. Now it's like these trades are happening 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes a week before. So it's a little different of a dynamic because teams are moving off their plan A, B, C, D. They're probably down to like E, F, G, H, or I about now. And again, like I had said to Jim, like maybe a couple hours before we went on air, LA's not done yet.
No, LA is not done.
LA is not done yet. LA had about what they would call I think it was $5 million in prorated space. Somewhere in that neighborhood. I mean, it'll probably change in 5 minutes. But teams like that Devils are not done yet.
We know the Devils are not done yet. And by the way,
we'll joke
and by
about
the way,
this.
look, we joke about it, but all seriousness, when we write things for Full Press Hockey or wherever we write our commentary, when we say they're not done and looking for depth moves, we mean it. Go check it out, fullpresshockey.com. I told you about the trade targets, that the depth moves that they were going to try to go after, the players that they're interested in. Tom Fitzgerald follows it up after the Meyer deal again on NHL now, says they're not done, looking to create cap skates, want to get grittier. I was telling you about this months ago. The Devils want to get grittier. They want to make a move. You mentioned LA. Again, middle of the night stuff. Was it the right thing to do based on performance? Absolutely. Jonathan Quick's just not getting it done. How it was handled is like Gerard Gallant getting the taxi. You tell him after the Kings beat the Jets in a shootout,
yep,
that he's going to Columbus. The team's not happy. The player himself isn't happy. And it looks like he's probably not even going to go to Columbus. Looks like he's going to be traded to Vegas or somebody else. But the Kings got their defenseman in Gavrikov, but they also got a goaltender in Korpisalo that you're going to ride. Isn't much better. But now you have Korpisalo and Copley but Korpisalo has. I mean, both players have playoff experience, but you're trading a guy that won you 2 Stanley Cups, and oh, by the way, had you on the verge of beating the Oilers last year.
Yeah, I mean, look, for all intents and purposes, LA was probably like a lucky bounce away from beating the Oilers. Arguably, for the first half of that series, they were the better team by far. Just to Jim, just to answer a few of the questions from the chat room as fast as I humanly can.
Yeah.
The Tyson Barrie part to Nashville is basically a dump and go.
Right.
Barry Trotz said it as such. Look, Barry Trotz is running the show in Nashville right now. That is what is going on. That is why you're seeing Sarah stay, because if some of the reports that were kind of starting to come out were true, few players were like, if this is going to keep going, get me on a plane out. Enough's enough. And I guess finally somebody said something to the right people, and things got done. So it'll be interesting to see what other. Nashville is not done. I believe they're going to make a couple more moves. I don't know how big. I don't think they're going to be significant, like from what we've seen, like with obviously the Ekholm deal. But they are not done yet. They do have a couple more pieces that they're contemplating selling, at least while they can, while the prices are good. Also, as for like the Rangers, oh yeah, their power play stacked. But man, I still think they have room.
Defensively,
something has to give defensively. Now, while it is true, your goaltender is your best defenseman, especially in the playoffs when the ice gets tighter. They have to find depth somewhere.
Well, Lindgren's hurt.
Lindgren's
suspended for 3 games. I think they're playing 16 players tonight.
This is starting to look like Columbus Day 2010-ish New Jersey here, when they played the Penguins with 9 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 1 goalie.
Well, I mean, Kane we know is not going to be in the building.
Yeah,
He's playing tomorrow night. He's playing tomorrow night.
Yep.
We know Lindgren's not playing. We know Miller's not playing.
Yep.
So that's 2 defensemen already that are not playing. And they definitely need more depth on defense. I don't care what anybody says, and I don't care what anybody else says. That I will take the Devils' bottom 6 right now over the Rangers' bottom 6.
And that's a problem in the playoffs. That's a huge problem. What you have this year in the playoffs, and we saw it in the West, especially last year in the first round, speed kills.
Oh, it does.
And it will kill, especially against a team that has success against the goaltender like the Devils do. That series is a crapshoot. Every series in the East, aside from, I'll say this tongue-in-cheek because it's not etched in stone yet, I think the one team that Boston fears playing early in the playoffs would be Ottawa.
I think Ottawa.
Just say it with me right now. The Ottawa Senators, if they play the Boston Bruins, have almost a 50-50 chance of advancing.
I would say that if the Washington Capitals make the playoffs, even though they're not, because it feels like a lot of the moves they've made have been selling mode, but not the way the team's constructed now. I think in years past, I think Washington gives Bruins fits in the playoffs. Another team Boston probably doesn't want to face in the playoffs if they get there in the second round is Tampa. For some reason, Tampa just gives them fits.
Tampa's like Jason Voorhees.
Right. He just doesn't, they just don't go away. But it's interesting because, like, you look at again, we're back to the Senators because of the breaking news that we got on this show that Jacob Chikrin's going to the Ottawa Senators to give you a reset. And, it's crazy to think that the Ottawa Senators defense just got better. That team got better. Pierre Dorian showing this team that they're going for it. And, one of our guys, Murray, who does a great job covering the Senators all the time.
He puts up with us.
And he puts up with us. Exactly. He does put up with us. The fact is this team's going to be playoff bound maybe not this year, but it will be happening sooner than we think. We mentioned the Rangers are not done. We mentioned LA's not done because even though they have Gavrikov and they have Korpisalo, they have other needs. Again, we're going to see where Quick goes. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to Vegas and he knocks the LA Kings out of the playoffs.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me. I think the salary is a big problem right now for Vegas. They can't really make the dollars and cents worth. Oh, because the NHL decided that now LTIR is a problem.
Yeah, we're going to go double secret probation, essentially.
But because Kucherov doing it was okay, but Riley Nash to the Leafs was not okay. Like, come on. Like, and speaking of the Leafs, we didn't even touch on them. Speaking of the Leafs, they reshaped their whole team. And we talked about this so many times on the show. I know so many podcasts I've been on, so many radio spots. The thing was, can't run back the same team. Kyle Dubas is managing this team like he has no contract, like he wants his extension, like he may be losing his job. Again, I'm not saying any of this happens. I'm really not. No. The additions of Noel Acciari, Ryan O'Reilly, Luke Schenn, Jake McCabe, Sam Lafferty, they bring in Gustafsson. They move Sandin for a first-round pick. Oh, and by the way, they're not done.
Done yet. Nobody's done.
Nobody's done.
I mean, we could say that. You just can't, because you just don't know. And what we thought was going to be not a mundane trade deadline has just been a sustained period of crazy waves.
So another trade has just went down.
Yep.
From Buffalo to LA, looks like they've just added some depth in the.
This one's interesting.
Eric Patillo to LA for a third-round pick. That's an interesting move.
AHL kind of an AHL move, and people have to remember too. By the way, the AHL trade deadline is next Friday, March 10th.
So I mean, look. We know Vegas, they make the move for Barbashev. That feels like ages ago now.
Mm-hmm.
They've made that move. They feel like they're not done.
Yep.
Washington's selling assets, but they actually pick up a great player in Sandin, and they're going to do this retool on the fly. They move out Johansson to Minnesota. Minnesota picks up Gustav Nyquist as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, with the Leafs, if you look at the Leafs, what they've done, they've become a harder team to play against. They have playoff experience. Now you bring back Luke Schenn, who's in a good situation when the team's good. He was there when the team was bad. Sam Lafferty's a great penalty killer. Jake McCabe's a solid top four defenseman. You have Gustafsson for depth. Justin Hall's probably on his way out. And you have a great player in Acciari. And, oh, by the way, Ryan O'Reilly's killing it with whoever he plays with.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's working. Are they peaking too soon? Who knows? There is no right or wrong answer here, because nobody knows quite how these teams are going to match up, because they're so freaking built up. I mean, you could, make those wonderful gifs and memes of men that are built like tanks and everything else. But until they play each other, we really don't. A few times, we don't really know what these teams are made of yet.
No, we don't.
It's fun though. It's fun.
It is very fun because it's going to be a war between Tampa and Toronto, and we know it's going 7. And we know that. Look, Ray Ferraro said it best. You could say the forwards are a wash. You could probably say the defense is a wash. If you're going to pick one goaltender, it's going to be Vasilevsky. And I agree with Kevin Weeks and everybody else who's sniffing around the goalie market. If I'm Toronto, I'm going after a goalie.
Gibson.
I'd say Gibson. Why not? Him or Quick. Why not go after trying to bring in Quick? I think if Quick goes into that system with that defense, I think you see some numbers like you see in previous seasons when he won a Conn Smythe.
It's possible. Again, the athleticism is mostly still there. The question now the question's answered. Motivation. Holy crap. I've just been traded from the team I played my whole entire career for.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a little pissed. I'm a little motivated. All the bells and whistles are dinging right now for
Okay,
Jonathan
so
Quick.
it is official. Jacob Chychrun will be in the house tomorrow.
That's big.
Chychrun with Ottawa, Kane with the Rangers. What
on
a game!
On the first, wow, those are that's two first unit power plays that I want the price of admission and pay in excess of the price of admission to see. I mean, Perry, this is a game you want to watch. You want to watch a younger team going up against a team that thinks they're stacked enough to go deep in the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
And see what happens. That's what makes this fun.
I mean, look, I'll try to live tweet as much as possible and post pictures and do as much as I can from that game because it's going to be ridiculous. I want to try to get there definitely early for warm-ups and get in and see these players on the ice because it's going to be ridiculous. Yep. But the fact of it, so going through some of these comments here, what about the Oilers? They have to step it up if they want to make it in the playoffs. Absolutely. The Oilers definitely have to step up. I mean, look, they made it to a Western Conference final last year. Their goal, obviously, and you could see with McDavid and Draisaitl, that they want to make the playoffs and win a Stanley Cup. Connor's not satisfied. You can even see it in his face. And when he's asked about 50 goals and all this stuff, he wants to win a Stanley Cup. Look, that's what the Oilers were known for when they were those high-scoring teams. That's what they want to do. So it's going to be crazy. I mean, look, there's pressure on the Leafs. There's pressure on the Oilers. Bruins did what they had to do, and I don't think they're done. I think they're going to try to add somebody as well. I'll go back and reset this thing. I don't think I've ever seen a busier pre-deadline than I've seen this year. And that's good for the National Hockey League.
This is huge. I mean, if you want a trade deadline that is crazy, riveting, yet somehow, oh my God, you just never know what's going to happen next. This is it. I mean, I know it seemed like the NBA one was approaching that, and some trades were just outright ridiculously all over the place. You have that in just abundance with what's going on with the NHL right now.
The fact of the matter is that the big reason this trade goes through is because Ottawa is taking on the full salary.
Yes.
And I think that's what put it over the edge. But again, law of diminishing returns on Chychrun. I think you held him out too long. People are concerned about the injuries. I know Boston wanted him. I think a lot of teams wanted him. But I think the injury was a big concern. His injury history,
without a doubt,
is a big, big thing for teams acquiring this player. Look, there's definitely going to be moves on Friday. There are probably more moves tonight.
Yeah, I think you see.
I think you're going to have a few more coming, but a lot of the big fish are now off the board.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a lot of depth guys that get moved, and we can recap a lot. Like we said, off the top, Patrick Kane goes to New York. We have Timo Meier in New Jersey. Chychrun now, the breaking news, Chychrun goes to Ottawa. We've talked about the quick trade that brings Gavrikov and Korpisalo to LA. Matthias Ekholm goes to Edmonton. PRV and Gostisberger in Carolina. The Islanders have done what they've done. Lou picks up a Lou type player. I mean, Peter Engvall was perfect. Not to mention, as Braden says, the Avalanche have made a move. They got Jack Johnson. They get Lars Eller. They're still in a position for a second line center.
Yeah,
I believe. So there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and there's players that look. Even Gustav Nyquist got moved. I mean, there was some talk that maybe he wouldn't be able to be moved, and well, he got moved.
He got moved.
So now you got to kind of wonder. It's like, Jim, Adam Henrique?
I wouldn't be shocked if Adam Henrique goes to the Colorado Avalanche. He's going to be back within 4 weeks. He's going to be returning to
Yep.
the team
Yeah,
right
there's a
before the
timeline
playoffs.
now. Yeah,
There's
there's a
a
timeline
timeline
now.
now. We know he's going to be back before the playoffs. I would not be surprised if he goes to Colorado. I thought he would be a player that maybe the Islanders even look at, but I think now that they got Engvall, I don't know if they go that way. The Devils could still look at him, but I'm not sure if he fits at what they're doing. Nick Schmaltz is still out there. Nick Bukestad's still out there. Max Domi's still out there. By the way, the guys that we don't know could be moved, like Thatcher Demko or JT Miller.
Does Gibson get moved? There's a few.
Brock
There's a few
Besser's
players
out there. Tyler Myers, Connor Garland. I don't think Erik Karlsson, the deal's going to happen. Unless something major changes, it doesn't sound like Karlsson's getting moved now.
Yeah, like Greer has pretty much gone on the record as of today and said unless he is quote unquote wowed, it's not happening.
Do we get a Meyer extension announced? Do we get a Brad extension announced? Maybe we get a Pasternak extension announced on Friday. There's so many things that
there's
can
a lot
happen.
of things that happen. Man.
And we'll be here with you. Don't worry. We're not going anywhere.
Don't worry. We're not going to get a mountain of peanut butter out. We're not going to, not like that. Maybe a giant peanut butter cup, perhaps, or a big giant.
But we're not going anywhere. We're going to have a trade deadline special for you. Probably not as early as some people hope, but we're not going to be on the air at like 8 a.m. and run like 6 hours. It's not happening.
No, because then I have to start like grilling in the middle of the show.
Right, exactly.
And though that's interesting, it's going to be a little cold here on Friday, so not so much.
We should get some more white stuff in the New Jersey area.
We should.
To like wrap this up and put a nice bow on it. Again, I will say this is the craziest pre-trade deadline I've seen. Easily. This is a great question. Can we talk about how Vancouver really done some damage with that with having a new coach? Vancouver's playing really good under Rick Tocchet. I didn't think that was going to happen. I think it was going to happen. We saw it last year with Bruce Boudreau too.
It's weird. They just responded out of nowhere. But it's really not out of nowhere.
But more changes need to happen because this team needs to be active.
They do.
And there's pieces teams need and pieces teams can use. What are the Penguins going to do? Is Washington still going to be a seller? What teams are going to stay pat? Does Florida, what does Dallas do? I mean, that was a sneaky good trade on Sunday too. Gurianov for Dadonov. I think that's going to work out for both players.
Yeah.
Again, you can't really touch on everything because so much has happened.
Yeah, I mean, and like we said, look at how, all right, here you go. The first 8 teams in the Western Conference, folks, are separated by a grand total of, get this, not a joke, 4 points. 4. That's it. 4 points. So literally,
unbelievable.
Every game counts. You can go from 1 to 8 or 9 in a few in 2 weeks.
The West is open, so wide open, especially in the Pacific. I mean, Seattle could be like we see with Winnipeg. Man, Winnipeg was in a great position sitting in second place.
Yep.
Now they're fighting with Calgary, though. I think if we look at the Western Conference right now, these might be our 8 teams. I'm not going to count Calgary out just yet. That's a team I want to watch because little birdies told me they could be active that day.
They're going to look. I know that Trey Livings said in the last week or so a few times that he's likely to stand pat. I don't think he can afford to.
I don't buy it.
This is one where normally I'd have a tendency to believe the GM based on his track record, but this is a year that's totally different. I mean, they could still. I mean, they could look. It's not likely because I do think the point totals bump up a little bit with whoever wins the West. But I mean, right now you could sit there and say, what, 96, 97 points might win the West because
Yeah.
everybody is fighting for points that badly. There is a low end where mid 90s wins the Western Conference.
Yeah, we've seen that in the East before.
We've seen it's rare, but it has happened. I mean, look, we've seen seasons where a player leads the league in scoring, barely averaging over a point a game. Jamie Benn, 89 points in 82 games.
And then it never happened again.
And then it never happened again. But
that's right.
This is the kind of thing we're looking at. And that's why the trade deadline's so chaotic.
And it's very chaotic, and it's something the NHL's desperately needed because, with this salary cap and this artificial salary cap that we had, we didn't think we were going to get these type of moves in the big names. And the fact that we've gotten them,
that's good.
It's really good for the league. It's drawing interest in Friday. There may not be a lot of names that go, but you know what? We got a lot of big names that have went. And when is the last time you could say that in the National Hockey League?
Look, it's been a while. I mean, you started to see it a little bit last year, couple cases, but nothing like this. But
we saw it more in the off season.
Yeah, we saw summer trades, and look, it was getting to the point even this morning that people were thinking, oh well, maybe Arizona's just going to wait till the summer and move Chychrun before the draft.
I think they had to move him today, or at the deadline, because this guy's wanted out of Arizona for so long. And the fact he's been sitting for 2 weeks. And the fact of the matter is everybody else around him has been getting traded.
Yeah, I mean, the last time Chychrun played was February 10th.
Right.
That's crazy. I mean, if I'm Ottawa, my only concern a little bit is, do you ease him in tomorrow a little bit?
Yeah, I do. I don't make him play 20 minutes. I'll cut his minutes down tomorrow.
I mean, just from a standpoint of, well, I mean, let's face it. He was lightly practicing as it was put to us. So, I mean, he's got to go through the rigors of a practice.
He's got to fly tonight. He's got to fly to New York tonight, meet the team, practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm kind of shocked that he's playing tomorrow.
It is a surprise. I mean, not going to lie.
But you know what? That's a game to be at. Oh, okay. So before we get out of here, because, highlight of the week. I know we don't really have a highlight of the week segment, but highlight of the week.
Damn it. We don't.
I wish we did.
Gotta get one
highlight of the week. Maybe we'll just do this randomly. Highlight of the week. The goalie goal. Linus Ullmark, what a shot. What a shot against Seattle. Unbelievable. I mean, right dead center in the net. Looked Brodeur-like.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is going Boston's way. And the fact of the matter is, why not have a goalie goal?
You almost had to with this team. Everything. Look, even last night, they shouldn't have beat Calgary.
And by the way, he was the 3rd star of the month.
Yeah, Mercer was robbed. Yeah, I know. We joke a bit. Look, Ullmark is winning the Vezina Trophy.
Hands down.
Some absolutely bizarre, crazy occurrence that isn't going to happen. He's going to win the Vezina Trophy. I said this when he was in Buffalo. There was potential, but nothing like this. I mean, I thought he could be a top 5 or 6 goalie in this league. I didn't think he was going to literally go a few months without losing more than 1 regulation game. There are numbers that are just like, huh? And then there's what he's doing. And granted, look, Boston has depth out to we understand that. You still have to perform, and the fact that he has lost a grand total of 4 times in regulation. 4. His numbers are right about at what a certain goalies were in the 2010-2011 season by the name of Timmy Thomas. They're about right there. It's pretty eerie. Obviously, the record's different, but it's right there.
But look, the Boston had, I'm going to be honest, I know the playoff format was different.
It was.
I'm not saying the team that they're going to face this year in the first round is going to be easy. No team is.
Right.
But they played their rival, Montreal Canadiens, that year in the first round and finally exercised some demons.
True.
But look, Omar's having a great year. Boston's having a great year. Carolina's got some sneaky good pickups. Devils made their pick. I mean, like I said, the trade deadline, it's been awesome. This week alone, again, still March 1st, people. March 3rd's Friday. So it's going to be crazy. But it's the craziness, the wild and craziness that is the NHL trade deadline. We got you covered here, fullpresshockey.com, at fullpressNHL on Twitter. Find us on YouTube, Facebook, fullpresshockey.com. Murray Pam will probably have something up about this trade and the quotes and everything. I will be at the Garden tomorrow night, Garden Party. But this has been the Full Press Weekly show here on Full Press NHL Twitter. You can find us Twitch, YouTube. Get the audio, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. I'm your host, Jim Behringer. It's been Chris Wassel, Ian behind the scenes. We'll see you Friday for the NHL Trade Deadline Special.